to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. Bitcoin has continued to be aggressively bullish over the last couple of days, breaking through yet another massive level of resistance at $64,000. In today's video, we're going to go over the macro charts to discuss both the bullish and bearish perspectives, and then diving into focus on the short time frame analysis. Before we do though, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel down below to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and ring that notification button so you never miss an episode. If you're after even more content, be sure to check out my free Telegram channel for daily updates as well as crypto and economic news. And if you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trade setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so diving right into the daily chart, we can see that we've actually had a pretty volatile couple of days. So after my last video on Monday, we did end up actually shooting right up past this next level of resistance here at 63.7 to 64k. And after getting that daily candle close above resistance, we managed to get a successful support resistance flip after retracing the price all the way back down to 62.3 and rapidly bouncing to again close above that level of resistance for the next daily candle close. So after we established that as a base of support, the price has, as expected, moved to fill this next massive gap in the volume profile and is moving towards this next key level here between 66.3 and $67.2 thousand. If we take a look at 24-hour volume, it's gone up by nearly 20%. And as you guys can imagine, liquidations have been pretty even. We've had $100 million of liquidations in shorts and pretty much the same for longs from that previous candle, that giant wick back downwards and a flash back up. So let's go ahead and dive into our analysis. Let's start off with the macro time frame and talk about, the macro perspectives that we have here after the recent developments in price action in this little segment over here, and then go over into our short time frame analysis. Before we do though, guys, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, Bitunix.
Bitunix is an emerging cryptocurrency exchange committed to providing you with a secure, convenient, and highly functional trading and investment platform. Available across all countries as a non-KYC exchange, get global access to over 150 trading pairs with minimal fees on both spot and futures contracts. Join today to get $5,500 in sign-up rewards and get 15% off all of your trading fees by signing up using the link in my bio or by using the code 1GG3 when you create your account.
Okay guys, so moving into the 3-day chart here on BLX. Now I wanted to start off with the macro analysis because I wanted to talk about the macro invalidations for both the bullish and bearish perspective before going into any sort of short time frame analysis. So on this BLX chart, I've pulled up the Ichimoku indicator and the Gaussian channel. Ichimoku, all I've got up is the leading span B. So I spoke about that in my last, or not my last video, I think a couple videos ago. I'll pop in like a little photo of the thumbnail here if you want to check it out. But essentially what I was saying was, after this retest here of the leading span B, this red line that we've got at the bottom here, of the bottom of the cloud, we really needed to bounce. Okay, we either bounce there or we would see a much larger further correction of anywhere between 15 and 70%, right? So naturally, you guys can see that over the last couple of days, we have had that bounce. So after retesting the bottom here of that cloud, we've had a very, very bullish next period. So this particular 3-day period here, we've rallied all the way up to retest again the top of the Gaussian channel and the top of the Ichimoku cloud here, guys. And so that's really great to see. And I've got the Gaussian channel purely because it provides us with a second level of confluence, a little bit more confirmation of these horizontal levels here that we really need to hold to continue to validate the macro bullish perspective. So now here, looking at this chart, we have technical confirmation and we have structural confirmation that we are looking macro bullish. Bitcoin, looking at this chart, does not have any reason to be bearish, like in terms of the higher time frame. On the short time frame, we'll go over that in just a moment. We are approaching a key level of resistance, obviously, so we might see a little bit of a pullback there. But in terms of the macro charts and where we should be continuing for the next couple of months until the end of that 4-year cycle period in October, we should be continuing in that bullish perspective. And so let's go ahead and talk about the bearish invalidations. So naturally, if we know that above the Gaussian channel and above the Ichimoku cloud or this leading span B, we are bullish, then the bearish narrative, or that really big flip to macro bearish, occurs when we fall below, first of all, obviously, this level over here. So 56,100, that is the start of that macro bearish perspective because we've fallen below the Ichimoku cloud. If we get that 3-day candle close there, we have real reason to be concerned of a larger correction downwards. And in that larger correction downwards, if we fall below the Gaussian channel, again, another level of confluence, $53.7 thousand, and also below our current structural pattern being this bull flag over here. We also fall below the bull market uptrend, but we've seen, that be invalidated before and it was still kind of okay on the 3-day time frame. So the key bullish structure we have here is this bull flag, or this descending channel that we've got here. That's when the bearish case scenario becomes a real thing. So right now, if you're taking a look at these charts and you still have some sort of bearish inclination, or you're thinking that this is just a short time frame rally and it doesn't have any real significance on the macro perspective because we've lost the uptrend or something, the bull market uptrend or something, I think you might have to do some very big challenging of your own assumptions there, because looking at the charts from an objective, technical and structural perspective, things are looking very, very macro bullish. And those are the validations that we have. We have not seen them yet. So until then, we should be expecting a further continuation upwards. So we know that we should be continuing upwards. So what kind of price action should we be seeing, and what are the key levels that we need to establish? So let's go ahead and dive into the daily chart to talk about that. So moving over onto the daily chart, we can see that we're pretty much at the last level of resistance, or the horizontal resistance that we have before moving to retest the upper trend line of the descending channel once again. So that last level of resistance is here at 66.3 to 67.1k resistance. We can see on the VRPV as well, it's pretty much that last large peak that we have within this channel where we can expect to see a huge amount of selling pressure and volume. And we know it's important because if we take a look at this prior segment of price action over here, we can see 2 rejections, 1, 2. We break above 66.3. We establish it as a base of support over here. And after that, we move right up to, first of all, retest the trend line as well as 72K. Again, over here, we bounce on 67K support and move right up to, once again, retest the trend line and $72,000. So that's the same kind of price action we should expect over here. It is realistically the final bullish trigger we have before moving up to retest that trend line. So when we retest the trend line, if we talk about a breakout, what we really need to see is a move above both the structural pattern as well as the relevant horizontal trigger level. So, a downtrend is one thing, right? We've seen it time and time again, guys. We have a downtrend. In the break of a downtrend, though, what we need to see for it to not just recorrect back downwards is a invalidation of that pattern where we're establishing continual lower highs. And so to do that, what we need to do is break above the prior high here to actually maintain that bullish trigger upwards. So what I feel like the price will probably look like is potentially a breakout of the trend line, a retest of the trend line as a base of support before finally breaking through that bullish trigger there. So in that breakout, we have a couple measured moves, but the most conservative one that I feel like is probably most likely to happen is a move towards $85,000, and that's assuming that we break out at the end of the month. Obviously, being a descending trend line, the longer we take to break out of the trend line, the lower that price is going to go, because the measured move stays the same. The measured move is the height of the flag, right? So if we apply that to 2 different areas, it's going to have a different final target. But if we apply it to the end of the month specifically, that takes us to around $85,000, which is absolutely huge, guys. It's a new all-time high. And another thing that we can see that is exceptionally bullish here on this chart is the breakout, or the initial breakout, of this RSI downtrend here. So this was a 4-month-long downtrend in the RSI, or momentum, that took us through, I guess, this 4 months of downtrending price action, right? It's a leading indicator, and it was telling us beforehand that we were probably going to see a bearish continuation for a while until we saw not necessarily bearish continuation, but just not enough strength to push past this initial all-time high here at 73,000, right? And now we finally seen a break out of that downtrend. So we've seen enough of a bullish shift in momentum here on this daily chart to suggest that we should be, at the very least, moving to retest this upper trend line and moving above it. If we take a look at total 3, altcoins have kind of been front running Bitcoin a little bit. They've been moving a bit quicker. We can see the same kind of pattern. So we're in that same kind of bull flag over here. We have the same corresponding levels of resistance. This one being that parabolic trigger at 715 billion, kind of equivalent to 72K for Bitcoin. And we have this bull bear trigger here being equivalent to $60,000 on Bitcoin, right? And after breaking out of this RSI downtrend, altcoins have, or total altcoin market cap, have pretty much gone right up to nearly test that trend line there. We're very close to the trend line in comparison to Bitcoin, because we did break out a little bit earlier. Altcoins have had a little bit more time to rally. But it kind of gives us an idea preemptively of what we're very likely to see next for Bitcoin, is that move to this trend line over here and a retest of $72,000. But before that, and before we get carried away, obviously we still have this next level of resistance. So let's zoom into the 1 hour time frame and talk about what kind of price action we will be very likely to see over the next couple of days to hours. So as we approach these next levels of resistance at 66 to 67K here on these short time frames, it does look like we are starting to lose just a little bit of that, strength that we had, which is obviously so understandable. We've had a massive amount of bullish rallying occur in the last couple of days. The last 3-day period has been crazy. So it's natural that we see a little bit of a pullback. I don't think it'll be necessarily a really big pullback, but it does look like we are potentially going to, retrace a little bit lower on these shorter time frame charts, particularly because we are again approaching that next level of resistance. So for example, if I pull up the RSI here, we can see a little bit of a double bearish divergence. So over here, we started to form some bearish divergence as we broke above 64K, that prior really key level of resistance there. After forming that bearish divergence, we moved back down to retrace 62.3K. So that base of support at the bottom here, or the point of control here on the short time frame charts. And then upon doing that, it bounced and, we continued upwards. So we can kind of see the same thing over here. So we still have that first bearish divergence, still hasn't been broken out of just yet. We still are in that little downtrend over here. Let me draw that in. Still in that little bit of a downtrend here. And then we have our second bearish divergence between these two peaks here. So we have a higher high here on the charts, on the price action, but we've got a lower high here. So we're seeing a little bit of bullish exhaustion here, and particularly as we approach that resistance. Either we push above and we, retest it as a base of support and another flash downwards, just like over here, or what I think is potentially a little bit more likely right now, just because of how extensive this bearish divergence is here. We've got two of them, and the price is really starting to slow down for a Wednesday. I think what we might see is a test of that lower base of resistance and a move back down to either retest 64K as a base of support over here, or a retest of our short time frame uptrend. So that's the same uptrend that we've been in since the 13th of July, and it's got two main points of confirmation right now. So in terms of a maximum retracement back downwards, that still holds that short time frame bullish narrative. That's going to be a correction to this downtrend, to this uptrend, and then a bounce, right? It doesn't really matter if we continue rejecting from 67 and just, creep along that uptrend for a little bit, because that's still a sign that we're gaining strength on the short time frame, and at some point we should see that breakout, right? Or we might just bounce and break right through. Who knows? That's really not something that we can really decipher, but we know that the short time frame bullish narrative remains intact while we hold this short time frame narrative, short time frame uptrend, and so on forth. So in terms of short time frame bearish, so what's going to be suggestive that we obviously might see a much larger correction than this level over here at 62K is a move below this prior low here at $62,300, that prior little retest, a breakdown of the uptrend, and in that circumstance, it is very likely then that we move to the next key level of support down at $60,000, right? 60,000 is a psychological level. We know it is the same level that took us through the last 3 months of sideways price action over here, and it is also the prior price cycle high. So there's a lot of buying pressure there, and if we do fall below the 62.3K level, that's very likely that first target that we have in terms of a bearish continuation. Right below that, naturally, we have that support resistance flip that triggered this entire move upwards, and that was a break of $58,000, right? So that's that next key level of support that we have just below that. And realistically, guys, on the short time frame, it doesn't really matter all that much what happens, because as long as we are above $58,000, that last level of support over here, the overall trajectory of Bitcoin is still bullish, right? If we zoom out on the 4-hour time frame, we can kind of put into perspective a little bit better. We're still within the bullish flag that we've developed over the last, couple of months, we are still, if we go back onto BLX, we're still above the Ichimoku at 56. We're still above the Gaussian channel as well at 53. So even though we're kind of sucked to see a move all the way back down to 58,000 over here, right? Overall, while we remain above that 58k level, the bullish narrative is still intact. It just means that on the short time frame, it's not necessarily looking as good, and it does look like we would consolidate for a little bit longer before seeing that break.
Alrighty guys, that is all the analysis that I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel down below. And if you're after even more content, be sure to check out my free Telegram channel for daily updates as well as crypto and economic news. If you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trade setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. And if you are a trader, don't forget to sign up down below to Bitunix to get 15% off all of your trading fees and $5,500 in sign-up rewards. Hope you guys have a really great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.